Now I would like to invite Ambassador Mr. Myman to take a seat in the front row. And in the meantime, I would like to introduce Mr. Sergio Calderon, Trade Commissioner of Colombia to Poland and other markets as well. I think we cover a few countries. And Sergio is coming all the way from Frankfurt, especially to share with us with more detail the importance of the alliance, the economic integration, where are we going, and some statistics, business climate, and so on. So, please, I will find you.
Vamos a decir vista. Okay. Your Excellencies, good morning, Ambassador Villanueva, Ambassador Gonzalez, Ambassador Silva, Ambassador Chavarri, Mr. Myman, thank you very much for having us here and for allowing us to present our project, which is very young, which is starting to develop, and which will hopefully have results in a very short time. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. And thank you for your interest in the Pacific Alliance. The first thing I want to state is that, and as Ambassador Villanueva said, the Pacific Alliance is not a rhetorical association. It is not a group of countries that want to set a political position before the rest of the world, but it is rather an economic bloc with many, many opportunities open to everyone who wants to join this venture, and where we can present opportunities for investment and for trade. The Pacific Alliance is mainly a free trade movement. The four countries believe that free trade is the way, as Ambassador Villanueva said, the way out of poverty, the way to solve many of our problems, the way to benefit from the advantages, the comparative advantages that each of our country has within the region. So I will just go over this because we already know what it is all about. And I also want to state that we do not pretend to have one common product. We do not pretend to sell the same thing to the rest of the world, because that would be denying the fact that the Pacific Alliance is diversity. The Pacific Alliance is formed by four countries, but by many, many people, 209 million, all across the Pacific Rim of Latin America. So we do not pretend to tell you that the four countries have the same things, but rather that each country should be viewed as a strength to settle, to invest in, to do business with, and to take advantage of the openness of the markets. Here are the magnitudes. The Pacific Alliance would be, in terms of population, the fifth largest country in the world, if you put them all together. 210 million, but a very diverse population. But it is also an ethnic group that has very much in common with Europe, because in all of our four countries we have a very large ethnic presence of Europeans, Spanish, French, Germans, many Polish, not as many as we wish, but we do have a lot of them in Latin America. Our GDP, in current terms, it is $2 trillion, but if you take into account the parity of purchasing power, the GDP of the region would run around $3 trillion, which would make the Pacific Alliance the 6th largest country, or the 6th largest economy in the world. And as Ambassador Villanueva also stated, the income per capita in the region, measured in purchasing parity, is $13,000. Just so you can have an idea, the GDP per capita, measured in the same terms in Poland, is $20,000. So we still have to grow another 50% to have to be able to have the same level of wealth as Polish people have, but we're on our way, because GDP growth in our countries averages 5% a year. So this means that our economies grow they double themselves in average every 15 years. Also, the population growth in our countries is always slower, so our GDP per capita is always higher. Our countries, well, mostly Peru and Colombia, because Chile and Mexico are far ahead in the process, have gone in the last 15 years from being low middle income countries to high middle income countries. So there is a great purchasing power in our countries, which make our markets very, very interesting to anyone who wants to do business with them. Regarding trade, our countries export more than $1.5 trillion in 2012, which this makes our bloc the 6th largest exporting bloc in the world, and our imports are just around the same level. So we have a very balanced, a very neutral balance of trade. Runs around also $560 billion a year. This makes the group the 7th largest importing bloc in the world. Then regarding foreign direct investment, Mr. Maiman said Poland is already the 2nd largest receptor of foreign direct investment in Europe. If you add up these investment flows into our countries, $71 billion in 2012, that would make the bloc the 4th largest foreign direct investment receptor in the world. $70 billion, which have been growing steadily in the last years. But there's also one phenomenon that must be stated here and highlighted. 10, 15, 20 years ago, 90% of foreign direct investment into the region was destined to oil, mining, and primary activities. Today, more inflows are going into infrastructure, manufacturing, services. So only around 40% of foreign direct investment in the region is going to oil and mining, and 60% to more productive, more value-added activities of our economies. And finally, regarding the figures, tourism. Our bloc received in 2012 more than 31 million visitors. I don't know the exact figures of the other 3 member countries, but I can tell you about Colombia. 10 years ago, the average number of foreign visitors was 500,000. And this year we expect to have almost 3 million. And this is something that is repeating itself in the whole region, because at the end of the presentation you will see how we are promoting the region as not as a country destination individually, as Peru, as Colombia, as Mexico, as Chile, but as a destination, a multi-product destination, because all of our countries have offers for nature lovers, for people who are interested in culture, for people who are interested in ecotourism, for people who are interested in sun and fun, because all of you that have to tolerate here very long and cold winters will find in our countries a little more pleasant weather in this time of the year and all the way until March. Okay, so having said this, I won't go much into this. Ambassador Villanueva already mentioned it. Maybe we left out Panama, which is also one of our next members. So pretty soon it's going to be 5 of us. But the other thing that must be highlighted here is that we already have more than 20 observers, which means there is an ever-growing interest in the bloc. The world is looking at the Pacific Alliance. And the curious thing about this, and we still haven't mentioned this, is that we don't even have a signed agreement, and we are already achieving many things together. Agreements are paper and formalities, but we are acting already, we are doing business. And this is something I also want to talk about, doing business. Our 4 countries have improved very, very much in the last decade in the World Bank survey of doing business. We will have some figures in some slides ahead, but I want to anticipate something. Our countries are always reforming. In the last decade, the ease of doing business has very much improved in the region, and now we have all of our countries within the 50 friendliest business environments in the world, starting with Chile, which is in the World Bank report, is ranked 37, and then ending with Mexico, which is in rank 50. So we are all in this in the 40s. We are in our early 40s, but we do expect to be soon within the 30s range, where all the OECD countries are. And here, let me also state that 2 of our members are already OECD countries, Mexico and Chile. Colombia is in the process of joining OECD starting this year, and we do expect to be full members by 2015. And well, probably Peru pretty soon will be part of the club, because Peru is the fastest growing country of us 4. So some of us, as I told you, there are many differences among our countries, and some are ranked better than others in some things, and some are ranked better in other things. Peru is our fast growing countries, our rising star, and some of our other countries, Chile and Mexico, have already joined the club of the high-income and well-developed countries. So we're all thriving, we're all working together on that, we're all working on the process. One more thing regarding the region, and this is something that is hardly mentioned. When you look at Latin America, and Latin America goes all the way from the Rio Grande and the border of the United States all the way down to Tierra del Fuego in Chile, there are, correct me if I'm wrong, 33 countries. Only 5 of all these countries in Latin America have investment grade. And of these 5 countries, 4 are here. So we're very proud. So you can consider the Pacific Alliance a very safe, low risk and sustainable growth bloc for your businesses in the future. The other one, okay, here we go. So, what is our specific weight in the world? I'll be quick about this because I already mentioned some of the facts. We are the 5th largest population in the world, only after China, India, United States, and Indonesia. Of course, that you would also counter-argue that if you add up all the European Union, then the fifth population of the world would be the European Union, and then you would be right about that, but it all depends on how you show things. Our GDP would amount to the sixth largest GDP in the world, and as I said, measured in purchasing parity. Our exports, as I said, would be we would be the seventh largest exporter in the world, whereas in imports we would be also ranking or eighth largest importer in the world, or ninth. And regarding investment, this is more than the volume of investment, more than the 70-something billion dollars which came into the region in 2012. It is also important to understand that greenfield projects are also being a significant part of the direct investment in the region. When you look at foreign direct investment figures, many times you miss the fact that the projects are greenfield projects, that people are starting to discover a specific region, a specific sector, a specific opportunity, because much of the foreign direct investment in the world is reinvestment in already existing projects or companies or in very mature markets. So this is very important to us. Of the 133,000 greenfield projects started in 2012 with foreign direct investment, somewhat around 4,286 of these projects were started in our countries. And finally, regarding tourism, there's an ever-growing interest for the region. We have multiple destinations. Probably if we asked you to name some tourism destinations in our country, you would say Machu Picchu, you would say probably Cartagena, you would probably say the desert of Acatama, you would probably say Cancun, Acapulco, because those are the beautiful beaches that you like to visit. But there is a lot more to visit in the region, and this is being discovered ever more by many people outside the region. And I can say, for example, that Polish travelers to the region, the number is growing at a very robust and healthy rate. And that is due to the fact that the promotion agencies, the embassies present here in Warsaw and in Poland, are doing a great work, a great promotion work, but we're also getting a very positive response from Polish operators, from airlines. Here we have the representative of Air France and KLM. So if you want to go to Latin America, speak with him. They have daily flights running out of Warsaw, running out of Paris, running out of Amsterdam, running out of Frankfurt. So there is connectivity, there are products, there are destinations, and there are many, many interesting things to see in the region. Okay, so here we see some figures regarding macroeconomic stability. And this is very important for investors. You want to know that the country is growing and that it has a potential to grow. As you can see, well, no, I thought I had here the GDP figures. But in competitiveness, as I told you, and this from IDM and the World Economic Forum, not from the World Bank. The World Bank measures business environment, whereas the World Economic Forum measures competitiveness. We are very much in the region of the Central and Eastern European countries. We have a low inflation, we have a low unemployment rate, and as I said before, the GDP growth runs in the region at an average rate of 5%. But it is also important here to state that growth is not a short-term measure. Our countries invest in or investment as a percent of GDP in the region runs around 25%. And this is very important because investment is the growth of the future. And investment is also guaranteed not only because we are receiving every year more and more foreign direct investment, but also because local investors are believing in our economies, are doing every day more businesses and investing in the future. Yes, here we have the doing business ranking, and as I told you, we are between Chile, which is ranked 34, I'm sorry, they corrected this, so this presentation is very fresh, and this is because the latest doing business report was published last week or the week before. So Chile is already 34, and Mexico is in 53, and Peru and Colombia are very much in the 40s. And doing business is not a subjective measure. The World Bank takes into account many variables to rank us. The total countries included in the survey is 189, so this tells you that we are in the upper 30% of best business environments in the world. And I want to call your attention to some of these figures. Like in Chile, they would be 22, high above in starting a business, in the ease of coming into the economy. Whereas Colombia has an advantage in construction licenses, in protecting investors, not foreign investors. Whereas Mexico has other advantages in other variables. So, as I told you, the countries are alike, but they're not equal. So each country has its own strength, but we are all placed we are well ranked in the Doing Business report. Now, the most important thing, and this is how I started my presentation about the region, is that the main consideration that led us to conform this group is the belief in free trade. If you look at, here I'll start with Chile. Chile has already 60 free trade agreements, not 60 free trade agreements, has free trade agreements with 60 countries around the world. And that makes Chile the most open country of the group. And then we have Mexico, which has around 49 or 48 countries with free trade agreements. And then I can show you Peru, which also has 48 or 49. And Peru is well into the process of integrating free trade with the Asian Pacific countries, in something in which Colombia and Mexico are not yet still in this phase. And finally, Colombia, where we are also integrated with all the countries in the Western Hemisphere, with the exception of Cuba and Nicaragua. We are ending our negotiations with Panama. We already have free trade agreement with Costa Rica. So Colombia has free trade agreements with 45 countries. So what do we have in common? That we are very much integrated into the world. So this gives you the second strongest argument to do business with the region and best to invest in the region. The first consideration would be we are the fifth largest population group in the world with an ever-growing purchasing power. So it is a very interesting internal market for consumer goods and for many, many other things, for the development of infrastructure in many sectors in the economy. But also, our countries are interesting because they should be regarded as export platforms. Because when you produce in the Pacific Alliance countries, you will not only export freely to the other 3 countries where you're not established if you invest in any one of them, but you would also be exporting to most of the rest of the world, or at least to the rest of the world where you do want to sell your products, because our trading partners are the European Union. Here you see we all have trade agreements with the European Union, Peru and Mexico. Colombia and Peru are newcomers to the group. Our free trade agreement came into force on August 1st, 2013. I think that, I'm not sure whether it's Mexico's or Chile's that came into effect in 2011. Was it Mexico or Chile?
Chile's 10 years old already.
Okay, so the one of Peru is older. Okay. We are also, we have free trade agreements with European Free Trade Association. This means the rest of the European countries that are not in the European Union. And we also, all of us, have free trade agreements with the North American Free Trade Association, being Mexico one of their members. But Colombia, Peru, and Chile also have free trade agreements with Mexico, with Canada, and the United States. So when I say we have free trade agreements with the countries you do want to do business with, of course, because you want to sell to the richest countries and not to the poorest, because there you don't have such great purchasing capacity of those countries. So we are well netted, and there's a chance to reach markets with more than 2 billion consumers around the world. Okay. What have we done so far? Let me just skip this.